And then of course I hope that it makes, you know, the old-timey or experienced flint knappers also happy, because maybe some of the more coveted rock sources don't have to be depleted so fast. So I truly believe that this is a win-win all the way around. This really seemed like it was something that needed to be created. Hey folks, Ryan Gill here with Hunt Primitive, and today we're going to work through and talk about a brand new product that is going to change the name in flint knapping, especially for folks just getting started, and that's a brand new product that we sell here at Hunt Primitive called KnapEasy. Alright, so hang with me for just a second, because I'm at least going to explain how this video is going to work, because it's going to be a little bit different than the others, but we're actually going to work through a piece of KnapEasy. But while I'm working through it, I'm going to just simply explain about everything that you're going to want to know about this. Just like any rock that you're going to work, there's going to be some different nuances, so different techniques work better for different rocks. KnapEasy is not going to be any different in that, so we're obviously going to bring you in close. We're going to work through this. I'm going to explain a lot about this and why we even made it. And we won't necessarily give you detailed instruction on how to flint knap. We already have that really good video teaching folks the basics and the beginners of flint knapping in this video that I'll pop up on the screen. So if you want to know the knapping mechanics, that video is going to be a great one. But this one's going to specifically talk about KnapEasy, and then we'll also give you all the little tips and tricks on how to do it. Alright, so we'll start off by why do we call it KnapEasy, and that's really simple, and that's because it knaps really easy. I mean really easy, but it's still very rigid and great for hunting with. So it's a strong rock, but it does break really easy while flint knapping it. So, and you also notice it's pretty darn slick in here. There's no heat treating necessary. Obviously the heat treating is part of the building process and how we make this. So it's going to be pretty darn slick in here. You're going to notice that it's very similar to something like a dacite or a heat treated novaculite. Now we're going to be working on some different size spalls in the future. We're also, yes, going to be working on some color. This is the standard spall that we're going to run with, which is about perfect for making an atlatl size point or chipping it down into an arrowhead size point. And so this will be what we call KnapEasy Original, and it's just going to be the pure white, and it's going to work pretty darn easy. I'm using the medium size billet, the 3/4 inch billet. I don't need to use the big billet on it at all. This stuff, and if you wail on it, then it's going to send shockwaves through it and break. This is designed to be able to be flaked and worked very easily. Okay, as you can see, just little wrist taps and we're driving nice long flakes across it. And so this is, yes, it is a manufactured rock. It's something that we make here at Hunt Primitive. This has been about 2 years worth of development, to where we really came up with a product that we really like, that we can produce. And one of the best parts that we'll get into fairly quickly is the materials are not rare. So there's a lot of materials that go into this, but all the materials that go into it by volume are very common in the earth. So again, remember, nice easy taps. There's a lot of platforms. You'll notice that the belly on it, the underside, often has some convexity to it. That's pretty normal through the making process and how this shrinks itself out. So you're going to get kind of a dish on the bottom, and then the top's going to have kind of a classic turtleback kind of shape, but you're going to notice that there's a lot of platforms to work. So always start from the top and then start working into that convexity. And you don't have to try to drive all the way through the other side. Just drive flakes right into that bottom most point of the convex belly, and then you'll notice that eventually it's going to flatten out. Really easy, not difficult to do at all. Then as you continue to work all that convexity out, then you're going to notice that some of these platforms over here, like this, they start to raise up. So we specifically designed this spall to teach people the mechanics of flint knapping, where they can have a lot of different options and then see how platforms develop and then how to run flakes for thinning after. So a lot of work went into coming up with this idea. Like I said, we're going to have some different ones in the future, but for right now, this is the standard, and it's a wonderful teaching tool but it's also a really good material for just use. And once we get some color in here, it's going to be pretty unique, to say the least. But it works really, really well, and it is very sharp. It's very slick, and it's very sharp. So let's talk a couple minutes about why we even came up with this, because I already know some people are already thinking, man, that sounds awesome. I can't wait to work some of that. And then there's probably still some people that are thinking, well, that's just ridiculous. That's just man-made rock. That's no different than glass. Or, you know, why on earth would I want to work that instead of natural rock? And you know, that has a really great reason. This is really here to help solve some problems, not just to teach people how to do it, but also any experienced flint knapper, somebody that's been knapping for a long time, will tell you some of the frustrating things about new people getting into flint knapping is if they start with really crummy rock, then they don't see a lot of success. So especially when you're starting out, you're wanting a really high quality rock. Well, you inevitably break a tremendous amount of really high quality rock. Then you just pulverize it. And so it does get frustrating to a lot of experienced knappers that are having a harder and harder time finding a really nice little flake in there. See? Run right across that top of that turtleback. They're having a harder and harder time finding really high quality rock because these sources are really getting depleted. And so this is now going to be a great option. So when people want to recommend, you know, people getting started in flint knapping, this is a great option for those people to use to learn, because it's going to teach you all the mechanics about flint knapping just like any other rock would, and it's really consistent from piece to piece. Now, occasionally you're going to find maybe a little inclusion or a little air pocket or two. So far, every air pocket that I've seen, very, very small. We work really hard to eliminate those, and we'll probably get even better with time. But every little air pocket we see is usually the size of the head of a pin, and it's easily you can work around it or work through it really, really easily. So those things are to be expected. But overall, it's extremely consistent. So back to the reason again, I think anybody that's been, again, knapping for a really long time will tell you that we've seen a lot of rock sources get found and then get depleted really quickly. So there's been places that have had wonderful natural resources of rock that were maybe just known by a few people, and they would use it for personal use or sharing it with friends or whatever. And just about like anything, because flint knapping has gotten so popular, is when people find out that it's there and people want it, they go collect it. And whether they do it by legal means or illegal means, both happen. I mean, there's a ton of people out there that realize that there's some money to be made in collecting rock and selling it. And a lot of folks are out where they're not supposed to be. They're on private property, they're on public property, which I'm not opposed to. Even though it may not be legal, I'm not opposed to somebody going along and picking up a couple pieces for their personal use on public property. But there's a lot of people that are going in and then just loading up the trucks with it, and next thing you know, that source is gone. So ask some old-time flint knappers about some great sources of rock that they used to have that are now gone because folks came and yanked all the good stuff out of it. So now, I don't want to make it sound like this is better than natural rock. It is more consistent piece to piece, and it does knap significantly easier. In many ways it is better, but that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate and still like to work natural rock. So I'm not saying that this is a direct replacement for it, and I'm not even discouraging folks from knapping natural rock. I mean, I still do as well, and I still plan to, and I still plan to sell stuff that does come from quarries, that is sourced legally and as responsibly as possible, but they are finite sources where the materials that go into this are extremely common, and so we're not depleting, and obviously we're using materials that can be found in many different places, so it's not just one resource that gets depleted. And so it is a great option then for folks to be able to get it, learn, and just bash it up. And since it is all natural, remember, it is a rock chemically, so it's all made from naturally occurring geological sources, and it is put together much like a metamorphic rock is. And so it is a rock. Think of it like, so there's no plastics or anything like that in here. And think about it like a cubic zirconia diamond. So you have a natural diamond and a cubic zirconia. Okay, so the cubic zirconia is still a diamond, it's just one that's made in a lab. And so that's what you're looking at here, is rock that is simply made in a lab, which it sounds like it would be, I don't know, maybe to some it sounds impossible, and to others it sounds like it would be pretty easy. Like I said, it's been about 2 years in the development stage until we finally came up with a recipe and a method of making it that we can consistently do, especially at somewhat at scale. And I think if people enjoy this as much as we do, we're going to have to be scaling up that operation quite a bit. And I'm truly hoping that this is going to help a lot of new flint nappers get better at flint napping faster, because they're going to have a really good quality piece of material to work that doesn't require a tremendous amount of force or even setting up platforms. It just naps so easy, hence the name KnapEasy. And then of course I hope that it makes, you know, the old-timey or experienced flint nappers also happy, because maybe some of the more coveted rock sources don't have to be depleted so fast. So I truly believe that this is a win-win all the way around. This really seemed like it was something that needed to be created and brought out to the world, because I think there's just so many ways that this benefits people in the world of flint napping. And you'll notice again, we're not hitting it real hard. So we set up some platforms and abrade it. Not hitting it hard at all. You do not need to hit it. Now if you're still wondering, if you have doubts that maybe if it naps so easy, maybe it's going to be too brittle to hunt with. Well, you'll notice when we get done, we can make a really thin little point, and folks didn't know it at the time because I didn't tell them, but that wildebeest that I killed with the atlatl, I killed it with KnapEasy points. So, and if you recall that video, we talked about how didn't even make a very good shot, initial first shot on the wildebeest, but it bled like crazy. So if you wonder if this stuff is sharp, it is plenty sharp. While you're working it, it's not crazy sharp, but once you start getting into that final edge prep, which we'll be able to discuss here pretty shortly and how we do that, then you will notice that this stuff becomes just violently sharp. As equally as sharp as any of the best flints, maybe not quite as sharp as obsidian, but pretty darn close. You know, think dacite or novaculite. And of course, keep in mind too that this stuff does produce a silica dust when you nap. So typically if I'm napping inside, I've got a fan running that's got a filter on it, and I'm sucking that in. Now I don't use that when I'm doing these videos, otherwise you guys wouldn't be able to hear me. So keep that in mind. Always nap outside or in a well ventilated or filtered area, because this will create silica dust, which will lead to silicosis and really mess you up in your lungs. So take the normal precautions. Stuff, treat it just like regular rock, because it pretty much is. Okay, now, so as you can see, we kind of work out a preform pretty quick and very few little problems. I hit a couple and you maybe step fractured them a little bit, but not too bad. Not paying attention a whole lot because I'm talking. But when it comes time to pressure flake, I abrade really well. Because if you don't abrade well, that edge will crush. So let's just take a spot that we didn't abrade very well, and you can see it crushes out really easily. So that's handy if you're kind of crushing into shape. But if you're really trying to drive flakes, we're going to abrade really well and it can take quite a bit of pressure. So that was another attribute of this that we were really insistent on, was that it not be brittle in the pressure flaking stage, or even indirect percussion. I use indirect percussion on it a lot too, but most of the time I don't need to. Honestly, a 3/4 bopper, or maybe even a little rascal, and then a big pressure flaker, and a normal size pressure flaker, and then a micro flaker to sharpen and finish out. And of course, if you guys have been following along, all that stuff's available on the Hunt Primitive website as well as the KnapEasy, obviously. And we'll have, I'm sure at different points, we'll have an advertisement, even a QR code. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can just use your phone and scan the QR code and it'll take you right to the website. But anyway, we wanted to make sure that this was plenty rigid so we could drive long flakes without it snapping. And so we've been very successful in that, creating that attribute as well. And once you get the hang of this, like I said, any kind of new material you work, you're probably not going to like the very first one, but the more you do, the more you work it, you'll understand how it works. And once you figure it out, man, it'll run a beautiful pressure flake. Just beautiful. But always, always, always abrade really well. You almost can't abrade too much when it comes to pressure flaking. You can with the percussion. You don't want to abrade that hard, but you'll notice we can abrade really hard, put pretty good force in on this, and drive some really nice flakes across. So then of course, now you're just pressure flaking at this point. So we've got several videos on that, and now obviously we were able to demonstrate it here for you, but we don't need to finish this one out per se. You kind of get the idea at this point. We want to just get you off and running. I'm sure we'll do a full sit-down video at some point where we just go ahead and make through an entire point, but this is more of the introduction video for the KnapEasy. Alright, so now I've got a couple points here to show you. So this one, it does notch out fairly easy. Remember, you're going to want to abrade really well before you get into the notching. And then one of the little tips I would say too is almost take your flaker and abrade in there a little bit so you can get a nice long flake while you're notching, but you'll figure it out. And of course it sharpens up really, really nice. Here's one here that, well, this is the one we just finished actually, but you can see how, let's get the focus on it for you. You can see how sharp this gets. We get a lot of great serrations on this piece. Knaps really clean. Really no issues at all, and that is when you sharpen that, like when you follow our sharpening video that we have on here on how to sharpen stone points, that is plenty sharp, and you will absolutely notice that this is going to do quite a bit of damage on animals. So it's not just for making and learning, it's for real using application. Remember, we took the wildebeest with it and that thing bled like crazy. Alright, so hopefully that answers all your questions that you're going to have about KnapEasy. And of course, again, we're going to be introducing some colors and multicolored pieces, especially to even replicate some natural rock resources. And of course, we're already working on some different size spalls. We've got a pretty big size knife spall that we're working with, and then even going to work down into some smaller flakes closer to arrowhead size that we may end up offering in the future. So we're still in some of the developmental stage, but the standard KnapEasy original is ready to go. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we find that we can't really keep up with the demand. So in the future, we most certainly can, because it simply just takes the infrastructure to be able to keep up on. So if you're watching this video and it's brand new and you want to try it, you can buy it. And we don't do by the pound, we do by the piece. So you know exactly what you're getting. It's the same spall every single time. And so you order as many pieces in the different packages that we're going to have on the website at huntprimitive.com and give it a try, because if it's something that you like, it may take us a while to really get the steam build up to where we can keep up with the demand, because everybody that we have let work it behind the scenes so far absolutely loves it, and they're already chomping at the bit to buy it. So I have a feeling that you're probably going to love it too. It's a great alternative to a natural rock, and a perfect learning tool, and perfect for folks that don't have to feel bad about bashing up a prime, beautiful piece of natural rock.